My mother texted me the night before my housewarming. She said, "We will not make it. Your sister just moved into her new apartment." No apology, no explanation, just another dismissal, I typed. That is okay. But what they did not know was that I was standing in the foyer of a custom-built $6 million estate, the same house about to be featured on national television. The house I built alone after building a life they never once asked about. They thought I was still living in a rental apartment. They had no idea what they were missing until the entire country saw it first. The text came through while I was reviewing the catering menu with the event planner. We had ordered enough food for 90 people. The champagne alone cost more than what my sister Madison spent on her entire apartment deposit, but my parents would not know that because they were not coming. I stared at those 3 sentences on my phone screen. Madison just signed her lease yesterday. We promised we would help her move. You understand? Of course I understood. I had been understanding for 31 years. Growing up, I learned early that there were two types of daughters in our family. Madison was the delicate one who needed protection and constant support. I was the sturdy one who could handle anything alone. When Madison cried, the world stopped. When I achieved something, I got a pat on the head and a reminder not to make my sister feel bad about herself. The pattern started when we were kids in suburban Detroit. I was 7 when Madison was born, old enough to understand that my parents finally had the baby they really wanted. She was tiny and perfect and needed constant attention. I became the helper, the responsible one, the child who never caused problems. By the time I was in middle school, the roles were cemented. Madison struggled with math, so my parents hired her a tutor. I struggled with feeling invisible, so I taught myself to excel at everything. Madison made the JV cheerleading squad junior year, and Dad took a half day from work to watch her first game. I made varsity debate team as a freshman and went to nationals alone. Your sister is more sensitive than you, Mom would explain. She needs us more. So I learned not to need them at all. By the way, if you are watching this from Detroit like me, or from anywhere else in the country, drop your city in the comments below. I want to know where you are tuning in from, because I have a feeling this story is going to hit different depending on where you grew up. The college acceptance letters came during dinner, one April evening. I had applied to 12 schools and gotten into 10, including MIT with a partial scholarship. I set the stack of letters on the dinner table, trying to contain my excitement. MIT wants me, I said. They are offering $30,000 a year in scholarships. Dad glanced at the letter. Boston is far. Mom was scrolling through her phone. That is wonderful, honey. Then she looked up sharply. Madison, why are you crying? My 18-year-old sister was staring at her phone with tears streaming down her face. Her boyfriend of 2 months had just posted a photo with another girl. The MIT letter got swept aside as both parents rushed to console her. I picked up my acceptances and went to my room. That night, I called my guidance counselor instead. She screamed with joy, told me I was going to change the world, that MIT was lucky to have me. She was the one who understood what those letters meant. My parents were still downstairs, helping Madison craft the perfect response text to win back a boy whose name I cannot even remember now. MIT changed everything for me. Away from home, away from the shadow of being Madison's older sister, I discovered who I actually was. Brilliant at coding, strategic at problem solving, capable of building things that mattered. I called home every Sunday my freshman year. The conversations followed a script. Mom would ask if I was eating enough. Dad would remind me to get sleep. Then they would spend 20 minutes updating me on Madison's community college drama, her latest boyfriend crisis, her struggle to pick a major. She just cannot find her passion. Mom sighed during one call. Unlike you, you have always known what you wanted. I wanted them to see me, but apparently that was not on the list of things I was allowed to want. By sophomore year at MIT, I stopped trying. I limited calls to once a month, kept them short, shared nothing important. When I won a hackathon that caught Google's attention, I did not mention it. When I landed a summer internship at a startup that was about to explode, I kept it to myself. Madison, meanwhile, had discovered Instagram. She posted photos of her coffee, her outfits, her study sessions that seemed to involve more ring lights than textbooks. She gained followers quickly, mostly local guys and beauty brands that wanted micro-influencers. Your sister has 15,000 followers now, Dad told me during junior year. Can you believe it? She is building a real business. I had just been offered a full-time position at the startup before even graduating, with a starting salary that would make their mortgage look like pocket change. But I just said, that is great for her. The startup was in Austin. I moved there straight after graduation, diving into the tech boom with the hunger of someone who had something to prove. The company was building logistics software that could revolutionize shipping. I was employee number 12, working 18-hour days, living on energy drinks and the promise of equity. Madison dropped out of community college after 3 semesters. She moved back home, got a part-time job at a boutique, and focused on growing her Instagram presence. My parents converted my old bedroom into her content creation studio, complete with professional lighting and a backdrop wall. We are so proud of Madison for following her dreams. Mom posted on Facebook, along with a photo shoot Madison had done in our backyard. I was writing code that would eventually process billions of dollars in transactions. But sure, the ring light was impressive too. The acquisition happened 3 years later. Dell bought us for a number that made headlines in TechCrunch. My equity was worth $8.7 million after taxes. I was 25 years old and suddenly wealthy beyond anything my family could imagine. I did not tell them. They did not ask. The second acquisition hit when I was 28. This time, I was a senior engineer at a company Amazon wanted badly. The payout was clean, substantial, and enough that my financial advisor started using terms like generational wealth and family office. I quit the next day. My coworkers assumed I would travel the world or buy a Tesla or move to San Francisco. Instead, I stayed in Austin and started looking for land. I wanted something permanent, something that was completely mine, something that nobody could take away or overlook or give to someone else because they needed it more. I found 40 acres in the hill country, 30 minutes outside Austin. The land had oak trees older than Texas itself, views that stretched forever, and a quietness that felt like peace. I paid cash. The architect I hired had designed homes for 3 Oscar winners and 1 former president. When I told her my vision, she listened for 3 hours without interrupting. Modern ranch style, she finally said. Clean lines but warm, glass walls to bring the outside in. A great room that makes people stop breathing. This is not just a house, Julia. This is a statement. I told her I did not want a statement. I wanted a home. She smiled. Same thing, in your case. Construction took 20 months. I visited the site twice a week, watching my vision rise from the ground. The foundation pour felt like setting intentions in concrete. The frame going up looked like my life finally having structure. The windows being installed was like adding clarity to everything I had built alone. Every contractor had the same reaction when they understood the scope. The pool designer whistled low when he saw the plans for the infinity edge that would disappear into the hillside. The kitchen installer actually sat down when he realized we were putting in not 1 but 2 full chef's kitchens. This is a $10 million build, the general contractor told me during month 15. You know that, right? I knew. I also knew that I had earned every penny of it through nights spent debugging code while my parents posted photos of Madison's latest sponsored smoothie. Speaking of which, if you are still watching, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next is going to make you rethink every family dynamic you thought was normal. The house was nearly complete when Mom called with news. Your father and I are planning to visit Austin next month. His cousin lives in San Antonio, and we thought we would drive up to see you too. My house would be finished by then. Perfect timing for a housewarming. Actually, I said, I am having a housewarming party that weekend. You should come. I will send the details. Oh, how fun, Mom said. Is it a big party? About 90 people. I have hired caterers and everything. Caterers? Fancy. All right, we will be there. I sent them the invitation 2 weeks later, the address, the time, the date. Nothing else. No photos of the house, no hint of what they would be walking into. Part of me wanted to warn them. A bigger part wanted to see their faces when they realized how wrong they had been about everything. The morning of the party, the text came through. Cannot make it to your party. Madison just got her new apartment yesterday, and we promised to help her move. You understand. Maybe we can see your place next time. I stood in my 4,000 square foot great room, looking out at the caterers setting up on the limestone terrace, and typed back, of course, I understand. I always understood. The party happened without them. 93 people showed up. Tech executives, startup founders, former colleagues who had also cashed out and built dream lives. They wandered through my home with the kind of quiet awe that felt like validation. This is unbelievable, my former CTO kept saying. Julia, this is absolutely unbelievable. The producers from Ranch and Estate Living contacted me 3 days later. Someone at the party had connections and had shown them photos. They wanted to feature the house in their new series about self-made women creating dream homes. We love stories about women who build their own empires, the producer explained. especially in male-dominated fields like tech. Your house is stunning, but your story is what makes it special. We filmed for 5 days. They interviewed me about everything. The career, the acquisitions, the decision to build exactly what I wanted without compromise. They shot the sunrise from my bedroom terrace, the sunset from the pool, the way light moved through the great room like something alive. You did all of this yourself? The host asked during the formal interview. Every decision, I said. Every choice. Every dollar earned to pay for it. And your family? Are they nearby? They are in Michigan. We are not particularly close. The host nodded like she understood more than I had said. The episode was scheduled to air 6 weeks later. I did not mention it to my parents. I did not post about it on social media. I just waited. Madison, meanwhile, had been documenting every moment of her move on Instagram. The packing, the drive to her new apartment complex, the arrangement of her Target furniture. She got a sponsorship from a moving company and made $3,000 from the content. Mom shared every post with captions about how proud she was of her entrepreneurial daughter. The night my episode aired, I watched it alone in my home theater. They had titled it From Code to Ranch, a tech executive's solo journey. Seeing my house on screen felt surreal. It looked even more impressive through their lenses, every angle catching the thoughtfulness of the design, the quality of the materials, the way everything flowed together. The interview segments were woven throughout. They had kept the parts where I talked about learning early that I could only rely on myself, about channeling isolation into innovation, about building something nobody could overlook. The final shot was me standing on my terrace at sunset, the Texas hills spreading out forever behind me. The narrator said, "Some people build houses. Julia Chen built proof that she never needed anyone's approval to begin with." My phone started buzzing before the credits finished rolling. Jessica, my best friend from MIT? Julia, what, this house? What? My former manager. Just saw your episode. Incredible. You deserve every square foot. Random classmates from high school. Is this really your house? How? This is insane. Instagram notifications flooded in from people I had not heard from in years. LinkedIn messages from recruiters who suddenly wanted to know if I was interested in executive positions. Everyone wanted to congratulate me, to express amazement, to claim some small connection to my success. Everyone except the people whose approval I had spent my childhood chasing. The call came at 10:30 that night. "Mom." "Julia." Her voice was strange, tight and high. "We just saw the episode. Dad found it. His cousin in San Antonio told him about it." "Oh," I said. "I did not know you watched that show. Why did you not tell us? Why did we have to find out from television that our daughter lives in a compound?" "It is just a house, Mom." "Just a house?" "Julia, they said it is worth $10 million. 8.5 for the build, but the land value has gone up, so probably 11 now." Silence. I could hear Dad in the background, his voice urgent but muffled. "How could you not tell us?" Mom finally asked. "How could you let us miss your party? How could you keep this secret?" "I did tell you about the party. You chose Madison's moving day instead. We did not know. We had no idea it was this kind of house. We thought you were still in that little apartment. You thought that because you never asked if anything had changed. You never asked about my work, my life, my plans. You never asked about anything." More silence. Then Madison's voice in the background. "Is that Julia? Are you talking to Julia?" "Your sister wants to talk to you," Mom said. "I am going to go," I said. "It is late." "Julia, wait. Please, we are so proud of you. We want to see it. We want to visit." "I will think about it." I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning, I had 43 missed calls. 20 from Mom, 15 from Dad, 8 from Madison. The texts were novels of apology and explanation, and hurt feelings. Madison's was the shortest. "Your house is insane. Also, you could have told me." I wanted to text back. "You could have asked." But I did not. I was tired of explaining myself to people who should have been paying attention all along. 3 weeks passed before I answered their calls. Dad tried first. "Sweetheart," he said, and his voice was softer than I had heard it in years. "We failed you." "Yes," I said, "you did. We got so caught up in worrying about Madison. She struggled so much, needed so much help. And I did not. So I got nothing. That is not fair. Is it not? When did you last visit me, Dad? When did you last ask about my work? When did you last celebrate something I achieved without immediately pivoting to Madison's latest crisis?" He was quiet for a long moment. "You are right. God, Julia, you are absolutely right." Mom called the next day. She cried through most of it, which felt manipulative until I realized she was actually hearing herself for the first time. We turned you into a ghost, she said. We made you invisible in your own family. I did pretty well for a ghost. That is not funny. It is a little funny. Can we fix this? Can we start over? I thought about it for a week before answering. Finally, I texted them, "You can visit next month. One weekend. We will see how it goes." They flew in on a Friday. I picked them up from the airport in my Range Rover, which was the first shock. Madison sat in the back, uncharacteristically quiet. She had seemed smaller somehow, diminished by the reality that her older sister had been living a completely different life than anyone had imagined. The drive to the house took 40 minutes. I narrated like a tour guide, pointing out landmarks, explaining about the area. They were silent, absorbing. Then we turned onto my private road, and I watched their faces change as the house came into view. "Oh my God," Madison whispered. Dad just stared. Mom started crying again. I gave them the full tour. Every room, every detail, every custom choice I had made. They were appropriate sounds of awe and amazement, but I found myself feeling nothing. Their approval had come too late to matter. We ended up in the great room as the sun was setting. The light was perfect, golden and warm, making everything glow. "Why did you not tell us?" Mom asked quietly. "Really? Why keep it secret?" "Because I wanted to see if you would show up for me without knowing what you were showing up for, and you did not." Dad flinched. Madison looked at her feet. "We cannot change the past," Mom said. "No," I agreed, "but I am also not going to pretend it did not happen. You chose Madison every single time for 30 years. Even when I was standing right there, achieving things, building things, becoming things, you chose her. She needed us more," Madison said quietly. It was the first time she had acknowledged it out loud. "Everyone needs their parents," I said. "I just learned earlier than most that needing something does not mean you will get it." We stayed the weekend. It was awkward and painful and occasionally almost normal. Madison took approximately 300 photos for her Instagram, but, to her credit, asked permission before posting any. My parents struggled between pride and shame, constantly overcorrecting, praising everything I did to an uncomfortable degree. Sunday morning, Dad found me on the terrace with coffee. "I have been thinking," he said, "about what you said, about choosing Madison." I waited. "You were so capable, so independent. Even as a kid, you just handled things." Madison fell apart constantly. We went where the crisis was. "And I learned to never have a crisis." He nodded. "We taught you the wrong lesson. We taught you that being strong meant being alone." Maybe. Or maybe I just learned the right lesson differently. I learned that I could build anything I wanted without permission or approval or support. "This house is not just where I live, Dad. It is proof that I never needed you to believe in me. I believed in myself." That is the saddest thing I have ever heard. It is also the most powerful. They left that afternoon. The goodbye was stilted, full of promises to do better, to visit more, to pay attention. I smiled and nodded, and knew that some damage could not be undone. But something had shifted. Not forgiveness exactly, but a kind of resolution. They had seen me, finally, not the ghost daughter who never needed anything, but the woman who had built everything from nothing while they were not watching. The episode reran 3 more times over the next months. Each time, the online response grew. People started recognizing me around Austin. The house became a minor landmark, with architecture students asking if they could tour it for their classes. Madison and I started texting occasionally. Surface-level stuff, but it was something. She never asked for money, which I respected. She also never complained about our parents paying more attention to me now, which told me she understood more than she let on. 6 months after their visit, Mom called with news. She and Dad were coming to Texas for a wedding. Could they stay with me? I thought about it for less than a minute. "Yes," I said. "You can stay here." The second visit was easier. The third, even more so. Slowly, carefully, we built something new. Not a replacement for what we never had, but something different. Something that acknowledged the truth of our history while leaving room for a different future. The house remained mine, though. My sanctuary, my achievement, my proof. Every morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and remembered that I had built this. Not just the house, but the life, the career, the ability to exist without external validation. The final recording of the episode included a behind-the-scenes segment where the producer asked me what I wanted viewers to take away from my story. I said, "You do not need anyone's permission to be extraordinary. You do not need anyone's attention to build something beautiful, but also, it is okay to want those things. It is okay to be hurt when you do not get them." Just do not let that stop you from becoming who you are supposed to be. If you are still here, listening to this whole story, leave a comment. Tell me if you have ever felt invisible in your own family. Tell me if you have ever built something amazing while no one was watching. And subscribe if you want more stories about women who stopped waiting for approval and started building empires instead.